French Resistance in World War II by yours truly, Olufemi Yusuf. Here's a short clip on the fall of Paris. German soldiers are now entering France. It's a very famous scene where French soldiers are entering British ships in Dunkirk. This is France. Now here we can see German soldiers walking into the capital of France, Paris. You can see the emotions on people's faces. Historic moment. This is a famous signing where France surrenders to Germany. The infamous Adolf Hitler. Now, World War II was a massive war that started in 1939 and ended in 1945. The spark of the war was Hitler invading Poland. The main reason why the war started was because of the Treaty of Versailles, where Germany was suffering, and Hitler came into power and decided to raise a secret military. In doing so, Hitler became the Führer and invaded Poland. Now, the war was separated into two groups, the Allies versus the Axis. The Allies contained USA, France, Britain, and furthermore, while the Axis contained Germany, Italy, and Japan. What is the French Resistance? Now, the French Resistance was created in response to the Nazi occupation of France. Now, in May 1940, Germany invaded France and by a month had occupied France. But France would not simply back down, and citizens started making small resistance groups. Now, there were two kinds of resistance groups. There were the violent, who killed German officers, and peaceful protesters. Now, Charles de Gaulle and Jean Moulin are famous characters who were involved in organizing the French resistance. Now, Moulin was sent directly to France to organize the French resistance. June 1940, there was a famous speech by Charles de Gaulle. It was called the Appeal of 18. Now, this speech is famous in French history for rallying the French after the fall of France. And in May 1940, Germany invaded France. Those are important times. The Vichy regime, also known as traitor French soldiers. The Vichy regime was basically a time period in which Germany had control of France. The Maquis were a random group of guerrilla soldiers who plotted attacks on German soldiers and officers. They were the violent group. Here are some of the resistance accomplishments. The resistance played a role in aiding Allied airmen, collected military intelligence. They plotted sabotage. They created anti-German leaflets, and in 1944 they were big enough to take over occupied France and liberate the towns occupied by Germany. Here are some relations to the resistance. Here are some books that I enjoyed back when I was younger. Chip series, which was a book based on a perspective on how kids would go into the resistance and take part in the sabotage and creating leaflets. All these books all are in similar situations. Here are some fun facts. Jean Moulin was buried in Pantheon, Paris, France. Charles de Gaulle Airport, which is the second largest international airport in Europe, and the largest international airport in France. And lastly, the Great Asparagus, which we now know as Charles de Gaulle, for his big features as you can see on the left. In conclusion, the deciding factor of the war, which was D-Day, the French resistance was a great help. The French resistance was a thorn in the German occupants and fought persistently. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed.